Matt Hardy. Thank you for watching the Gimme a Hull Yeah Wrestling Podcast.
Hi guys, it's Dom here. Just done an interview with Alicia Atout in my kitchen, the interview queen, of course, of MLW and AEW fame. I wish her all the best in her future success because she's going to do some fantastic things. I go quite a long way back with Alicia in terms of music journalism because she used to run AMBY or a music blog, yeah. Well, I've obviously done Soundsphere. So I've known of Alicia's work for a very long time, so it's an absolute pleasure to sit down with her today and talk about wrestling, which is obviously a love of both of ours, and it's great to see all of her success, and I hope to catch her when she's in the UK next. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys learned some stuff today, because obviously Alicia's had a great career. She's obviously had to deal with a lot of stuff as well, and had quite a journey and a lot of challenges on her way to where she is. So hopefully it's useful for some people, and please let us know what you think in the comments. Please do subscribe and comment and stuff and like and all that thing. I've already said that. And yeah, thank you very much, Alicia, for your time. And yeah, we will see you guys very soon. Can you hear me all right?
Yep, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I absolutely can. So my name is Dom from Soundsphere magazine and Gimme A Hull Yeah. I'm here with Alicia Atout, the interview queen. It's an absolute pleasure to be interviewing you in my kitchen from the UK.
Right.
You've been so busy with lockdown. Like, I watched an interview the other day, I think it was with Eric Young, and he got it right when he said, you're busier now in lockdown than you were beforehand.
Yeah, it's been absolutely crazy. You'd think with everything going on, you'd slow down and kind of embrace the fact that you don't have all the traveling, and I have weekends off for the first time in months. It's kind of weird, but at the same time, you know, I kind of feel guilty when I stop working. So it ended up being one of those things where I was like, everybody's home. That's kind of the silver lining to all of this. Why not take advantage of that and get a lot of people on that I may not have been able to have before? And it's awesome you're doing the same thing. You know, we have to make it work for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And obviously you've sort of changed and developed your brand quite a lot over time. When I first discovered you, you were doing music stuff, and you still do the odd music interview as well. You built a really solid reputation, not only in Canada and in the US, but obviously around the world, because you had people working for you at Leeds Festival, which is when I first discovered you, yeah, which is cool. So given that you've done that, but then you've also now worked with AEW and you've kind of interviewed all these wonderful people, how do you define success? What does it mean to you?
Oh, that's so tricky. There's so many different ways. One of the biggest successes I've had is the obvious one, where it's being able to work with some of my favorite people ever in music, in wrestling, my favorite bands, my favorite wrestlers, favorite celebrities. That's absolutely crazy to me. And then there are things that aren't so obvious on the surface, where when I started, I was 16, 17. I was this insecure teenager who was kind of thrown in front of a camera to interview Bombay Bicycle Club super randomly by her dad after a concert. And it just stuck. So like, one of the biggest successes has been that confidence growth, and seeing people who have known me since then as 16 to 24 now, and that growth, you know, it's like, it's been a very crazy personal journey, all of this. And it sounds so cheesy and corny, but it's true, you know. I was so nervous when I first started. I didn't really know what I was doing. You learn as you go. And the next thing you know, the camera can turn on. And you're just like, all right, let's knock it out. Like, it's weird how much it shifts. So that's probably the biggest success to me, is just that personal growth. Because yeah, if it weren't for this, I don't really know how I'd be, what I'd be, you know, so.
Yeah. Talking about personal growth, because that's a really good one. So we work a lot with young people, and their sort of idea of success can be skewed because they think, you know, they've struggled with mental health issues and things like that. And I wanted to sort of hear from you how you've changed and developed as a person and as a professional, I guess, through the work you've done. You know, tell me about that person you were when you started. You know, I remember, you know, saying some of your interviews on your channel, you weren't so proud of at the very start, but you have grown and developed. And I think everybody can do that, and it's important to know. So how have you changed and developed as a person through when you started right up until now?
Yeah, so when I first started, I was very shy. I couldn't stand public speaking. Whenever it came to group projects, I was like, oh shit, like oh, can I say that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I was like, oh no, I don't want to, you know, put myself out there. And it was just all of this confidence that just wasn't there. I lacked it so much. And so when I started this website, I kind of had no choice but to put those adult pants on and be like, oh, people are watching. And it was only until I posted a few interviews in and I was like, oh, people are actually watching these. Like, how is this even happening? Because it started with a lot of stuff from across the pond, the Bombay Bicycle Clubs, the Frank Turners, Tom Clark from The Enemy. Like, a lot of really cool English bands were giving me the time of day. And that's the stuff I grew up on. So I started realizing if these people are giving me their time, I need to put a lot of time into this as well. So, you know, a year in is when I started really doing crazy research rather than just like my 2Q video interviews, which was the beginning. Then 2 years in, I started wearing like cover up if I'd get like the odd spot, like, you know, let's cover the odd thing. And then 3 years in, you realize, oh, like, now I have lots of people watching. Videos are getting thousands of views. I guess I should start dressing better. Like, it seems very obvious, but when you're a teenager who's a real tomboy, who doesn't think in that way, you know, it takes a couple things to click. And then the turning point for me was when I sat down with Metallica and I was given that opportunity. I realized people see something in you and you need to start seeing it in yourself. And that was the shift. Then I started wrestling and I had these huge opportunities to work with some of my favorite people ever in the industry. Everyone from Cody Rhodes to the Bucks to Kenny Omega. Obviously that was like my time doing AEW stuff, then hosting shows for Mick Foley, hosting stuff for Goldust. Like, I never thought that would happen. So all of that kind of stuff came to be, and I started to realize, especially when I signed, even though this was most recent back in December, January, like signing with MLW, it just hit me like, people really see a worth in you. You need to start seeing it in yourself. And then that was like the biggest turning point. I've been like definitely on an increase as far as my growth and the site's growth, because when you're confident in what you do and you know, like, oh yeah, like the cameras start rolling, I can just knock it out of the park, then the guest feels that. And it makes it so much easier for them to just chill out, ease themselves, and just have that fun conversation. So that's definitely been like the biggest thing that I've learned. And I think that's where I've grown the most. I've come like a really long way. Yeah. And it's weird because fans have been there from the get-go. Like, a lot of people have been there since I was 16. I'm like, oh God, like, you've seen it all, you know?
Yeah, man, it's incredible to see how you've grown. And I think that's and as an extension of that, you know, again, for advice for young people that might look at your channel and see the success that you've had both on a musical level and on a wrestling level, I guess on an entertainment level across the board. What sort of tips and advice could you give to someone that might similarly have that, those confidence issues? Maybe they're 16, maybe they're 17, hell, they could be in their 30s, whatever, and they could be inspired to do this. What advice and tips have you got for someone that wants to follow in your footsteps and sort of takes inspiration from the work that you do?
The biggest thing I've learned is to not be afraid of failure, because I would shit the bed before trying something new. Like, I would just be so scared. Like, I would mess it up mentally before even doing it. And when I would do it, it would be fine, you know? So that was one of the biggest things I learned, is don't be scared of failure, because worst case scenario, you do trip up and then you just do it again and people don't even remember. And I've been lucky because I haven't really messed anything up live. I think the only thing that once happened is I ring announced. It was my first time ever ring announcing, and I never wanted to ring announce. Like, it terrified me. I hate doing the voice. I was just, oh God, why are they making me do this? And then I was like, you know what, let's give it a whirl. And I did this one thing where I introduced Jay White, and I said, the following contest is a tag team match, but it was actually a singles. And literally, I got the "you fucked up" chant. Everyone was laughing, and I was like, oh Lord, it's happened. And then again, that was my first year doing anything wrestling related, one of my first times in the ring actually doing any kind of hosting. So you learn. And if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have had a local promotion here hire me monthly to do ring announcing, because you hone your craft, you learn from your mistakes. That's been my whole thing. Like, since I didn't go to university, it's all been DIY. It's all been, I don't want to say failure, because like, I've been really lucky to not have failed a lot, but at the same time, there are things where you look back and you're like, oh, I could have done that differently, or oh, this would have made it better. So yeah, don't be scared of failure and just putting yourself out there and making an ass of yourself, because in wrestling, and I've had so many wrestlers tell me this, like, they're literally dudes wearing their underwear rolling around with each other, and people, like, everyone's cheering for it, you know? Yeah. So it's like, in essence, it's a fun sport. It's a good time. That's why everybody is there to enjoy it. So if you got to make an ass of yourself, like, don't be afraid to, you know? I've done the weirdest segments ever, and I'm like, this is the silliest thing, but it's so fun when you watch it back and you feel proud that you actually put yourself out there and it was worth it.
Absolutely. And I do want to take you back to that, because I think a lot of people, like I said, they look at your videos and they see that, you know, it's very well done and very well edited, because I know you do your editing and stuff and you've done
Thank
a lot of
you.
work on that. But taking you back to that sort of mistake that you made at MLW, I think it's important for people to know that it is okay. And like we've said, it is okay to make mistakes. What was that like, you know, being in the ring and you made that error, but what happened immediately after that? Did you laugh it off and was it fine? You know, because that's what I'm trying to get at, is that, you know, it's okay to make mistakes, and you so long as you learn from them, I guess.
Yeah, so that actually, I'm trying to think of when that was exactly. I think that was like 2 years ago, and it was at a company called Smash Wrestling here in Toronto.
Cool.
And so when it happened, and I knew Jay, which made it a little bit easier. Like, he made fun of it. He took the microphone and said something super goofy, and I was like, oh Lord, like this, oh God, oh God. But I'm glad it happened to someone I'm a friend with, because then like they could laugh about it, and they knew it was my first time ever doing it. Everyone did. Like, the crowd supported me so much. And so literally it happened, and I was like, time to do that again, everybody. Let's make some noise. And then literally I just was like, the following contest is a singles match. And then no one even brought it up. And of course, like, everyone behind the scenes afterwards, like, we laughed about it and stuff. But I feel like it's happened to almost everyone, where at one point or another, something slips, something happens. And I've never done it since then, because I think I was so nervous and in my head about announcing for the first time that's why I tripped up. I had over-rehearsed, I overthought of it. And then that's when I messed up. So ever since then, I'm like, as long as you know the facts, go in there, have fun with it, and don't be serious. Because I was so serious that night. Like, you could tell I was stiff as a board. So I think as soon as I loosened up a little bit and learned from that, it's been like really smooth sailing ever since. And knock on wood, it continues to be that way, because I never want to flub. I never want to flub ever again.
Well, like I say, but that's what I mean is when you, if that happens again, you know, you can deal with it. And that's what I'm getting from this, is that you know, you put yourself out there, you put yourself in front of a camera, and you learn that you can do it. You learn that it's possible for you, and that, I think, is
Absolutely.
what we're trying to get through with these interviews, is that, you know, if you can do it and have the success you've had, then, you know, hopefully we can inspire some other people to do it as well, which is amazing. Talk about some of the challenges you faced, and obviously because you've built a brand from the ground up. You know, talk to me about, you know, I remember you saying you went on Facebook initially, and you were chasing emails and sending emails to publicists and all that. You know, really DIY, as you said. What have been some of the biggest challenges you faced through your career? Whether that's, you know, because people do butt heads in the industry. I know I've heard you say that, and it can be a bit challenging. So what would you say some of the biggest challenges you faced are, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so one of the biggest challenges is when I started off, I was so young. And like I mentioned, I didn't come into my first, like, I'd say couple dozen interviews, like, with lots of makeup. I came in wearing jeans and like a comic book shirt or a band t-shirt. And like, it wasn't that I was a mess. Like, I looked presentable. I just looked really young, you know, because makeup makes you look older. It makes you look, in most regards, more professional. So I was just coming in, and people would automatically assume like, oh, she's young, she doesn't know anything about my band. Because at that point in time, I was interviewing like a lot of metal bands. And then, you know, look at me. A lot of people don't associate me with liking metal, but I do. So they'd look at me and they'd kind of be like, oh, and this would be publicists, this would be managers, this would be the bands themselves. And sometimes they'd think, is she going to know anything? Like, she's a girl, she's young, like, what's she going to know about us? So then we'd sit down and we'd start the interview, and I could tell they'd start switching their thought process as soon as they heard the questions, how in depth it was. I'd shock them with things I knew, and they're like, how the hell did you know that personal fact about me? Like, what? And then I'd gain respect. And then once people started to realize that I knew my stuff, that's where everything changed. And that's where the interview started getting bigger and better, and gave me confidence too, to start putting more effort into myself. Because the research was always there. Of course, it got better and better as I went, just like everything. I never want to be complacent, but the research was always there. It was just the other things I kind of had to tie nuances on and everything. But that was something that was really difficult for me at first, was gaining that respect and not being judged right away, because everyone judges. I do, you do. Like, it's a fact of life. But when it actually starts to affect your work, I was like, okay, this can't happen anymore. Like, I need to, straight from the get-go, make people think like she knows her stuff. And luckily now I'm known for that. So
Yeah. I think that's as an extension of that, because I think appearance is very interesting. You know, you do have a good brand and a solid image. How important has your brand been? At first it was the Ambi brand, and now obviously Alicia Atout, interview queen. For people that are watching that may be a little bit self-conscious about their appearance, but, you know, it's TV and media and stuff, I guess, you know, as an extension, how important is that? How important is that visual image and that brand in your success, and how important has it been?
It's way more important than I wish it was. It's one of those things where I still wish I could show up to certain things and not have to put on a face or whatever. And I still really underdo it. Like, I've had TV makeup done and I'm there for like an hour and a half in the chair and I'm like, what the have you done to me? Yeah. So like for certain things, it's like, it drives me crazy. And I wish that looks didn't mean so much, but at the same time, my face is on my merch. My face is on posters. My face has been on television screens. So it's one of those double-edged swords where you realize, okay, I do have to put some effort into how I look, but at the same time, I want to stay authentic to myself. So you'll watch MLW and you can tell, like, I'm not packing on the makeup and it's pretty authentic and I'm wearing like whatever I want to wear. I'm not like boosting up everything and wearing super, super tight stuff 24/7. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's not me. I love dressing up. I love having my own style, but it's not it's not like the typical thing you see a lot of the time in my position. Yeah. So I wish it didn't matter so much. Like, even today, it's awesome because, like, obviously, like, I put a bit of makeup on, but I'm literally wearing like a huge tie-dye shirt because I'm just chilling.
It's cool. It's cool.
Thank you.
I'm sat in my kitchen. It's fine. We're all good.
Right, and that's the thing too. It's like, we're not doing something out in public. There isn't a crowd right now. They're all watching virtually, which is awesome. So it's not like you have to do those kinds of things. Like, it's a different scenario now. So I've literally been doing so many of my interviews in my band t-shirts, and you throw on a necklace and it looks kind of presentable,
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's cool.
Thank you.
I remember you saying to Chris Van Vliet that your goal, I think it was last year, was 2019, was to get signed by a company. And now you've been signed by MLW, which is great. Which is fantastic. Congratulations. Well deserved.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask you now, because I guess you do have a reputation around the world. What goals do you have? Well, I guess, so providing we are let out of our houses at some point, providing we can get outside and out into the world and travel on planes, etc. What are some of your goals for sort of 2021, we'll say, the next sort of few years?
Yeah, it sucks because a lot of my goals were going to happen this year, and now with everything happening, of course, it's not the biggest of our worries or my worries, but it does suck that things have been put on hold. Like, I was supposed to come over to the UK for a really massive wrestling show, and like my tickets were like, everything was ready to go, and then with everything that happened, that was obviously cut off. So that was a big disappointment. Not just professionally, but personally, going to the UK has been a goal of mine since I was like 3. So it sucks not being able to go. So hopefully in 2021, or I've heard towards the end of this year, if everything's okay.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, I might be back or there. So that'd be amazing. Other things is I just want to travel more. Like, it was cool because at the beginning of this year, I didn't have a weekend off for like 2.5 months. Like, every single weekend I was abroad or I was in the States, or I had like local shows here, but it was still a show. Like, I wasn't at home. So that was incredible. So I'd love for there to be like a span of like 5 months where that's just the case, because it makes you feel good that people want you at their shows and you're busy and you're at conventions and you're meeting fans, and it's just awesome. So that's another goal of mine, is to have like a 5 to 6 month span where it's just like go, go, go again. I miss that. And what else? I mean, the whole thing too is just becoming that like name that people associate with interviews. Like, I know right now it is the case, but I want like it to be the case for everybody, like I think that'd be awesome. So that's another goal of mine, and I'm like on my way to it. I'm not quite there, but it's not out of the picture. So we shall see again. Fingers crossed.
I'm dead excited, and I've said the same thing to Chris. Like, when you do get over to the UK, we'll actually have to hang out in person. Fingers crossed we'll be allowed to at that point. It'll be
right.
Nice. We'll do like a follow-up interview in person in the UK. It'll be great. And
I've been telling so many people I've had on my show, like, we're gonna have to do this in person one day, because there's a lot of people that I wasn't able to do things with together, and now this has kind of opened the opportunity to. And not that wasn't the case before. Like, of course, Skype and Zoom have existed for a while, and I was doing a few Skype interviews for a new segment that I had, but then it all just kind of effortlessly went from that segment into just interviews, because that's what I was known for.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that like I say, hopefully we'll sort of grow and develop, and we'll see you develop more and more. And it's great to see you working so well with MLW and doing all the stuff with AEW. I wanted to ask you because I think it's a shame not to talk a little bit about music, and we are in lockdown, and we are, it's been a bit challenging for a lot of people. What songs do you go to? What tunes do you go to? Bands and artists do you go to when you're having a down day, when you need a little bit of a pickup, or maybe you're about to do a massive interview when you're nervous? Give me like a couple of bands and a couple of songs that you listen to for that motivation that just changes. You know what I mean, right? The songs
Totally.
that change your mood and change your vibe. So
Yeah.
give me like 2 or 3 of those.
100%. So lately I've been listening to The Used again a lot.
Yeah.
I just love them. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. So often I'll listen to All That I've Got, which I know is more a somber song, but there's something about it that I've always connected to, and it puts me in this place where I'm like level-headed and appreciate things. So I always listen to All That I've Got by The Used. I've been listening to so much Bombay Bicycle Club again. Like last night I was jamming to Feel and Carrie and Shuffle, like all their classic hits, So I've been listening to a lot of Bombay. And Steel Panther get me hyped. Whenever I have a big interview, I will pop on Steel Panther and just start like swearing and blasting it and just having a good time. So you always got to feel the steel when you need a little pick me up.
They love to make you awkward when you interview them. I did an interview with them along. It's good fun, but they're strange but fun band, I think. Talking about just finishing off. Obviously, I've asked you for your advice, and I wanted to know. You've been able to speak to so many bands and so many wrestlers, and it also you mentioned it was your dad that got you into it at first, which is great. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? That's maybe about your career, maybe something personal, but something that's really stuck with you, that you take with you and you'll take with you forward for the rest of your professional and personal life, that always sticks with you.
One piece of advice I should have been given is to not leave my shorts on the bed. So
It's okay.
I just realized my pajamas are on the bed. But it actually came from my dad. He told me that you can be given 1,000 no's, but all it takes is the one yes. Because there was a time about like 4 years ago where before I got into wrestling, but where I was really thinking like, should I be doing this? Like, you know how it goes. There'll be spells where every single day you have 12 interviews a day, and then there will be a whole week where you have nothing. Or for a week you won't get merch sales, and then for a week you literally are getting like tons of them a day. So there was this one time where things were down and it wasn't a great touring season for music, and I was just like, what's going on here? Like, it'd be easier if I did have a 9-to-5 and I had that guaranteed income and it wasn't DIY, everything's on my shoulders. And I had this long talk with my mom and dad, like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to give up on my dream, but like, I really don't know what to do. And then he told me that. He's like, start reaching out to more people, see what you can do. And that's when I started doing wrestling stuff. We totally changed the scope of my site and the platform and just everything about it, really. I rebranded everything. And because of that, this whole new thing sparked, and I had like a new love for it all over again. And it brought me to where I am now, which is like awesome, So and that's because I took his advice. I wasn't afraid to get no's anymore. I wasn't scared of that failure, and I got a lot of huge yeses, and that just really 180'd everything. So that's probably the best advice I've been given. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I hope a lot of people can take from what we've spoken about today, because it's so nice to sit down with you after such a long time of kind of admiring your work and the brand. Because I've sent press releases to you and you've helped me out before, and like there's loads of stuff, with bands and stuff. So it's great to sort of sit with you and talk about wrestling, because I love wrestling too. So it's awesome to see your success and how well you've done. And I hope to catch you in the UK at some point.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you so much for having me on. And sorry if I'm like, I know I'm like usually like super energetic, and I feel like I am, but I'm like a little under the weather right now. So, I hate it. Cause like, when you hear yourself when you have headphones on, you sound so nasally and everything. I'm like, God damn it.
Fantastic. Don't you worry. It's been amazing. And like I say, hopefully people can take some stuff from this. And I look forward to meeting you in person one day when this is all over.
Yeah, same with you, Dom. Thank you so much for having me on.
Cool. Thank you ever so much. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.